Hey guys, it's Yusafa, and I'm going to put out a video right now that may not be for everybody, but it is definitely for me and for my group of friends that I've been working with regards to value being provided to the contest via the sales and monetization. And what I wanted to talk about today was the upcoming banquet and how important the banquet is to Kabam and the game. Now, I put together a script and I put together some charts for you guys, but I really want to go through some of the basic assumptions that I have with regards to this analysis, with regards and the financial uh, windfall that comes every year with the banquet. So today we're going to dive into something most players never think about, what the economy is behind the banquet. Every December, Kabam runs its biggest event of the year. It's designed not just for rewards, but also for revenue. So how much do players actually spend? And what's Kabam's goal? We're going to go ahead and break it down here. So for Kabam, the banquet holiday is the holiday season's financial finale, a spike in engagement and spending. It's their version of kind of Black Friday, even though we do have a Black Friday event as well. Each year, it drives a major portion of their annual revenue, primarily through crystals, milestones, and leaderboard competitions. Um, Now, I want to say up front that I am not a Kabam employee. I am in the content creator program. I do not have any inside information with regards to the structures of what the 2025 banquet is going to look like. I have no insight with regards to the actual revenue that they receive with regards to the banquet. These are all just made upon my best guess and my past spending and what I know of spending behaviors of the rest of the community. So again, a lot of assumptions are going to be made in here. So to go further into the assumptions, let's just talk about how I built up my analysis. So we have, in talks with, with people, I've learned that, we have about 2 million, 1.5 to 2 million active accounts in this game. Approximately 300,000 of those actually spend money on the game. Now it's at differing levels. Uh, the top 10,000 is really what Kabam does track with regards to large spending habits and what they how they gauge their annual revenue. The remaining 290,000 are just basic casual spenders. They may pick up a deal every now and then, um, uh, but not what you would consider a large spender in MCOC. I also, when I did try to model this in the distribution, for simplicity, I just used normal distribution where the mean was 1,000. Two standard deviations to the left would be about $300. And two standard deviations to the right would be about $20,000. And this is just based upon past spending in the banquet for me and for a lot of my friends. I just made that determination that 95% of the spenders in the top 10K were around those bounds. And again, I just modeled it in a normal distribution for simplicity. So also top 10K assumed based upon previous banquets, top 10K raised about $20 million in revenue for Kabam for the banquet, and the remaining 290,000 players generated about 21 million, where they have about a $75 average spend during the banquet, and that's for across the 290,000. The strategic goals of Kabam, of course, are to keep the whales engaged, so the big spenders, to grow the mid tier, the dolphins, and we'll go through the segment definitions for each one of these segments in a further slide. To sustain casual participation across those 290,000 remaining players, spending maybe a little bit, maybe $75 during the banquet event, and then balance event stability and profitability, because that's what a company really needs is to have a dependable source of income through the banquet and to carry them into the next year. So going into the segments, how we determined, excuse me, I determined what the segments were. So I've actually added a separate or a top level spenders, and that's for like people like Super Bro Z who really just whaled out last banquet. You got the Krakens, you got the whales, you got the dolphins, and then you got the casuals. So the Krakens, whales, and dolphins will all be in the top 10K, and then the casuals would be in the 290,000 remaining, which an average spend of $75. Now the Krakens, now these numbers don't you can't do a basic multiplication times this. So if there's 93 players, you can't multiply that by 9,618. It's a distribution, so some spend more, some spend less, as well as the whales. We have an average spend of about 4,400. There's about 2,700 of what we would categorize as whales, and dolphins, 6,000 dolphins with an average spend of 2,700. So that's how I built out my normal distribution, kind of like a Pareto distribution, but that's how I did my analysis. And of course, that also gives you the assumption that, for the banquet event, that Kabam is able to pull in about $41.75 million over the course of the event. Now, I did not take into account any web store fees or any Apple fees or anything like that. That's just a basic simplistic view of what I believe Kabam brings in per season per banquet. So again, here's just a pyramid. Kabam wants to keep the whales engaged because you guys are going to see that. I mean, the top 10K, the whales and the krakens and casual spinners in the top 10K bring in a very large portion of the overall revenue for the banquet. And then you got the casual spinners, which are 96.7 of the player base. Those 300,000 that actually do spin on the game, they want to sustain their participation. But I mean, you can already start seeing here the percentages of players that are in the top 10K and the casual spenders. You can start seeing how important the dolphins are, as well as the whales and the krakens for the success of Banquet. So here's just a basic view of the Kabam spending distribution. Not too much to show you with regards to there. And the pie chart. So, like I said, so the Dolphins make up about 55, 56% of the overall revenue for the banquet in the top 10K. The whales are about 41%. And you got those Krakens, the Super Bros Z's up there that bring in about 0.6 million with regards to the banquet event. But you can see here, this is the $20 million share that the top 10K bring in. But what about the other 300,000? How do they support the revenue? Well, if you look at this chart, the 290,000 that are left over outside the top 10K, they bring in about 52, 53% of the overall revenue for Kabam during the banquet. Now that's quite a bit, but when you start thinking about it, the top 10K, that's 3% of those 300,000. They bring in 48% of the revenue. So what does that mean? Why does Kabam really need to focus on the whale? Well, if you disenfranchise or disengage with the whales, the krakens, the casual spenders, and the top 10K, then you can have a devastating impact to the overall financial gain for Banquet, since only 3% make up those top 10K, where almost 50% of the revenue is. That's really why Kabam really needs to focus on those top 10K to ensure that they actually spend during the banquet. Here is the pie chart. Like I said, you got 48% of the overall revenue, top 10K, 52% of it is the remaining 290,000. So it's, first of all, a huge amount of money, but it's also reason why Kabam needs to focus on those top 10,000 players, because again, disenfranchising those is really going to impact their bottom line at the end of the banquet season. So Kabam's goal isn't to make everybody spend the same. It's trying to keep the pyramid stable. They need to keep the whales engaged. They need to get the dolphins to grow, so to spend more money within that distribution. And they just need the casual players just to keep participating, even at low numbers. If they can raise it for more than $75 per user or per player in those 290,000, that's great. But it's not really as important as focusing on those 3% of active spenders in this game. So when you sum it up, last year's banquet, I assumed, made about $41 million. About half came from 10,000 players. The rest came from 290,000. And that's really, guys, the economic reality behind this event. It's not random luck. It's a carefully tuned system that keeps Kabam profitable through the year. This is Kabam's financial thermostat as well. I mean, when they do the banquet, they can really understand how healthy the game is and how healthy the spender base. It measures how motivated the whales are, how predictable next year's revenue will be, and it's not really about luck or crystals for Kabam. It's about the metrics and being able to determine how successful they're going to be next year and being able to support the game next year. So that's it, guys. That's just my basic analysis. Next video that I'm going to release with regards to a whale's thoughts on the banquet is going to be really what I think that uh, the contents of the crystals and what the rewards should be for different segments within the population, individual crystal drop rates, and that kind of stuff. This was just a basic economic analysis of why Kabam needs to focus on those top 3%, the top 10K, and really how if you disengage from the top 10K, it could mean disaster for this year and for next for the health of the game. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll be putting out more videos, more voice of the community will be coming out this week, and thank you so much, and I'll catch you later.